All right, hello, fifth graders. Hope you are doing well. This is chapter 29 of George's Secret Key to the Universe. It wasn't easy to break into Creeper's house, even though the place was very old, scruffy, and unloved. Creeper had locked every single window and door. They went around the house trying everywhere, but nothing would budge. When they reached the window of the room where George had seen Cosmos only that morning, it looked like the great computer was no longer there. "But I saw him," protested George, "in that room." Annie and Susan looked up at each other. Susan bit her lip to try and hide her disappointment. A fat tear snaked down Annie's cheek. "If we can't find Cosmos," she whispered. "Hang on a minute," exclaimed Susan. "Shush, you two, listen." They all strained their ears as hard as they could. From somewhere inside the room, they heard the faint, tinny mechanical sound of someone singing. "Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon." Although technically that would not be possible without a spacesuit because the cow would freeze. The voice added, "It's Cosmos!" cried George. "He's singing so we know where to find him." "But how are we going to get to him?" "Wait there," said Susan mysteriously. She vanished off the corner, but a few minutes later she appeared inside the room where Cosmos was singing. She opened the ground floor window very wide so that Annie and George could climb through. "How did you do that?" asked George in wonder. "I should have thought of it before," said Susan. Graham had left the spare key under a flower pot by the front door. "It's what he always used to do, so I let myself in." Meanwhile, Annie had followed the sound of brave Cosmos singing and was rooting around a big cupboard. She pulled out a cardboard box full of old blankets, threw them out, and at the bottom found Cosmos himself. Unfolding his screen, she covered it in kisses. "Cosmos, Cosmos, Cosmos," she squealed. "We found you. Are you all right? Can you rescue my dad?" There's Cosmos and George. "Please plug me in," gasped Cosmos, who was a bit worse for the wear. At Eric's house, he had been sleek, silver, and shiny, a glossy, well-looked-after computer. Now he was scratched and battered, with marks and smudges all over him. "I am exhausted. My batteries are nearly dead." George looked at the spot where he had seen Cosmos earlier that day, and sure enough, there was the computer's cable. He attached Cosmos to the cable and heard him take big, thirsty gulps, as though he were drinking down a huge glass of cold water. "That's better," sighed Cosmos. "Now, would someone like to tell me what the microchip is going on around here?" "Eric's fallen into the black hole," George told him. "And we need you to get him out," pleaded Annie. "Dear Cosmos, please say you know how." Cosmos made a whirring noise. "I'm checking my disk for information," he said. "I'm searching for files on how to rescue something from a black hole. Please wait." He made more whirring noises and then stopped and went silent. "Well," said Annie, sounding more worried, "can you?" No," said Cosmos reluctantly. "Those search terms have produced zero information." "You don't know how? But Cosmos, that means—" Annie couldn't finish her sentence. She threw her arms around her mom and started to cry. "No one has provided me with the information about escaping from black holes," explained Cosmos apologetically. "I only know how to get into the black hole and not how to get out again. I'm not sure it is possible. Eric would have told me if he knew. I'm accessing my archive on black holes, gravity, and mass, but I fear none of these files hold the data I need." His drives whirred again, but he fell silent, unusually for Cosmos, lost for words. "So Eric's lost," said Annie's mom, wiping her eyes. "He told me a long time ago that nothing can come out of a black hole once it has fallen in." "No," said George, "that's not right. I mean, Eric's changed his mind about black holes. That's what he says in the notes he wrote for Annie and me." "What notes?" says Cosmos. "The ones I found in the back of his new book." "What did the notes say?" Searching in the bag, George tried to remember Eric's exact words. "Eric wrote that black holes are not eternal," he said. "They somehow spit out everything that falls in. Takes a long time. Radiate or something." "Radiation," corrected Cosmos. "Do you have the book? Maybe I can download the information from it and work something out." "Yeah, radiation, that's it." George had found Eric's big book on black holes and handed it over to Annie. "But Cosmos, we've got to be quick. As soon as Creeper sees I'm not at school to give my talk, he'll come right back here." "We'd be a lot quicker if Eric had bothered to update my system properly in the first place," Cosmos sniffed. "Perhaps he meant to, but forgot," said George. "Typical," said Cosmos. "Do you mind?" said Annie angrily. "Could we hurry up? Of course, said Cosmos, sounding serious again. Once I have the new information, I can start right away. Annie, attach the book from my book port. As quickly as she could, Annie pulled out a clear plastic tray from Cosmos' side and adjusted it until it stood upright. She propped the book on it and pressed a button on the computer. Ready, she said. The humming noise of the computer grew louder and louder, and the pages of the book started to glow. Rebooting my memory files on black holes, said Cosmos. Finished. You were right, George. It is all in Eric's new book. I can do it. I can rescue Eric from a black hole. Then do it, George, Annie, and her mom shouted in unison. Annie pressed the enter key on Cosmos' keyboard, and the portal window appeared in the middle of the room. On the other side of it was a very distorted view of somewhere in outer space. In the middle was a black patch. That's the black hole, cried George. Correct, replied Cosmos. That's where I left you and Eric. The view seemed very still, as though nothing was happening. Cosmos, why aren't you doing anything? Asked Annie. It takes time, replied Cosmos. I need to pick up all of the little things that come out of the black hole. Most of them are so small you can't even see them. If I miss one, I may not be able to reconstruct Eric. I will have to filter out Eric from every single object that ever fell in the black hole. What do you mean, reconstruct? Asked Annie's mom. The black hole expels particles one by one. Each time a particle gets out, the black hole expels more the next time, so it gets quicker and quicker all the time. I'm fast-forwarding time by billions of years. Please let me work. I need to pick up everything. George, Annie, and her mom fell silent and stared through the window, each willing Cosmos to get it right. After a few minutes, the black hole still looked exactly the same as it had before. But then, as they watched, it started to shrink, and the space around it became less and less distorted. Once the black hole had begun shrinking, it got smaller and smaller, faster and faster. Now they could see an enormous number of particles that seemed to be coming from the black hole itself. Cosmos was making whirring noises that were getting louder and louder as the black hole shrank. The light on his screen, so bright just a minute ago, started to flicker and grow dim. The whirring noise suddenly went crunchy, and a high-pitched alarm rang out from Cosmos' keyboard. "What's wrong with Cosmos?" George whispered to Annie and Susan. Susan looked worried. It must be all the effort he's making with the calculations. Even for Cosmos, they must be very difficult. "Do you think he'll be able to do it?" squeaked Annie. It's a picture of the projection of the computer, the black hole. "We just have to have hope," said Susan firmly. Through the window, they saw the black hole was now the size of a tennis ball. "Don't look," cried Susan. "Cover your eyes with your hands." The black hole became very bright and then suddenly exploded, disappearing the most powerful explosion the universe could withstand. Even with their eyes closed, George, Annie, and her mom could see its light. "Hold on, Cosmos," shouted Annie. Cosmos gave a horrible groan and shot a green blaze of light from his screen as some white smoke rose from his circuits. "Eureka!" Cosmos started to shout, but his voice was cut off before he reached the end of the word. The light suddenly vanished, and when George opened his eyes, he saw the window was no longer there. Instead, the portal doorway had appeared. It burst open, and the room in Dr. Reaper's house was flooded with the fading flash of brilliant light from the explosion. Standing in the middle of the door was the figure of a man in a suit. Behind him, the portal doorway opened on a quiet place in space where the black hole was no more.